G'day, this is Scribble here, and today I'll be providing commentary on a game of Revolution, one of the premier custom Magic the Gathering formats. So this is my round 1 match of Grand Prix Estrathe, and we are having a new format with Cliques of Nylon, the new set having just rotated in. So my cockatrice has just crashed, so I think I'm just resetting here. Okay, hopefully no more issues moving forward. Anyway, yes, so this is a new deck. So my game plan is revolving around Jund Treasures, so much more of a proactive kind of deck than I would normally be playing. I'd normally be on some kind of control deck, especially with a new format rotation. But there are some specific tools that Cliques of Nylon provided that really interest me in terms of a Jund Treasure package. In particular, one that I haven't drawn yet, but I will pull up on a separate page, is Work Safety Violation. So a very good removal piece, interacting against a lot of different kinds of decks, and it's also just got the dumbest flavor text you've ever seen on a Magic card. Cool, okay, alright, so looking at our starting hands, I've only got 2 non-lands, but my deck has a relatively lower land count than I would normally have, which means I'm more likely to draw into non-land permanents, or non-land cards than I would normally, so I think I'm okay with keeping this. Good opportunity to have a look at my opponent's deck, as I haven't done that yet. So today I'm playing against Caillou. Caillou is on a Golden Age deck, so that's this enchantment here. Building around Golden Age, which helps them tutor for different lands. And then once they've cast a bunch of multicolored spells, they get to flip it into Harmony, which lets them recast multicolored spells from their graveyard. So a very high value kind of deck across multiple different colors. They've also got a copy of the Quindril Accords, which is a good late game mana sink in terms of making a bunch of big creatures, drawing cards, and all that good stuff. Great, okay, so my opponent has mulliganed, started out with a redeveloped Skityscape, so that is one of the new fixing lands that we've had in the format. It facilitates really low land counts, so both in decks and in opening hands, with being able to sacrifice itself and replace a card in your hand with any basic from your library. So it's been a strong performer so far in the format. Realizing I've forgotten to switch back from the deck list page to the gameplay, but we're back now. Alright, off with a turn 2 Gubernatorial Fundraiser. So this card has been a very strong performer so far, especially in these multicolored treasure lists. Looks like my opponent is deciding to pledge with Hazak Arsenal, so the Grixis colored one, rather than the Jund one which makes treasures, which is the one that I've normally seen, and which is likely going to be the one that I end up picking with my fundraiser. Great, so I've got 2 Glornas in my hand which cost double black, so I'll just deploy my Swamp here and then play my own copy of Fundraiser. Great, so a bit of back and forth in the early game. So going back to have a look again at Caillou's deck, we've got a bunch of non-creature value engines. It looks like they're running Get Your Wish, which is a World Championship card that Caillou designed, based off around the fact that they all have 5 cards of permanence and can tutor for non-creature spells like Cathet and Zar that they can free cast from their hand. Alright, here we see the namesake Golden Age. So Caillou is sacrificing their forest and going to tutor for, I would imagine, some kind of fixing land, dual or trail land. Or no, they're just revolving around basics in their list. So Golden Age does let you play the new land untapped, which allows them to slightly ramp into Manifest the Light Veins, which will also help them ramp in the future. So opponent has a lot of cheap permanents on the field at the moment, so I am interested in finding something like my Work Safety Violation to try and wipe out multiple of these permanents at once. So Manifest the Light Veins gives the land that it animates Ward 1, so I'm not able to destroy it with a Glorna that I play this coming turn. So possibly I'm interested in instead developing my sustainable investments. So just having a look at what's going on in the field, my opponent doesn't have any multicolored cards in their graveyard yet, so flipping Golden Age isn't necessarily the worst thing so far, though it does provide its own mill. I believe I'm just going to offer the trade here. Great, okay, so we've got a Dante's Inferno, which is another option for killing Manifest Light Veins. And then late game, it will allow me to turn all of my treasures into a massive life drain from the graveyard, which is particularly nice with sustainable investments because those treasures won't end up sacrificing themselves. So here at this point, because I can't kill anything with Glorna or play the 2/1 creature without Glorna being at risk of dying to Manifest the Light Veins, I think I'm just going to go with sustainable investments. Unfortunately, don't have a 2-drop to be able to cast off of my 2 treasures, but that's not the worst thing in the world. Alright, so Caillou poking in with the Manifest the Light Veins creature. Doing that before combat because of Vigilance means there's no downside in not doing that. I assume Caillou is now going to cast a multicolored spell, which will enable them to flip Golden Age immediately. Okay, opponent, Caillou does have the work safety violation that I was looking for, and is just probably going to wipe my entire board. A really strong play. It is going to cost them 4 life, but they are going to hit everything. Yeah, really strong start from Caillou here. It's going to take a fair bit for me to pull back from this. Okay, so I think here I probably want to set them back in terms of their mana, because Harmony is going to give them a lot of card advantage. So instead I think I want to focus on their bottleneck of mana. Work safety violation also not going to be fantastic into Glorna after I've already used her to destroy a Manifest the Light Veins, so essentially only doing 1 damage to it. I believe that is what I'm going to go for. Playing the Mountain so I have the mana to pay for the ward cost. Great, going to -2 that, and pay for the ward. Okay, opponent only has 2 cards in hand, so it's possible that if they draw awkwardly, or if they whiff off of Harmony, that things can end up okay for me, that I might be able to claw my way back. So, milling 2 lands and a Tsar, which they may be able to cast. But no, they're choosing the Manifest the Light Vein so that they can destroy, attack into Glorna and ramp a bit further again. So Harmony looks like they're going to be using to hit Tsar next turn, or possibly work safety violation, depending on what I end up developing. Yeah, Manifest being able to kill off my Planeswalkers as well as tap for 2 mana is certainly showing off its strength. Okay, so not drawing exactly what I would like to here. I could go for the same play again and Glorna to remove the Manifest the Light Veins. So if I'm assuming that Caillou is going to cast Tsar next turn, that is going to start gaining them a bunch of life, and the +2 means that it will quickly grow out of range of being killable by Dante's Inferno. So because of that, I am interested in instead saving Glorna to kill Tsar. So in that case, and because I can't kill the Manifest Light Veins with Dante's Inferno because of the ward cost, I think I'm just going to go for the Audacious Rough Rider instead. Okay, cool. So enter the battlefield, exile the top card of my library. Avatar of the Rave is a nice one, but I would need to draw another land in order to be able to cast it. It does let me get back my sustainable investments. At this point, I think it's better than the second Dante's Inferno, and Inferno does give me value from discarding it anyway, so I think I will swap it out, and then just play my tap land. Alright, Caillou going for an end of turn Get Your Wish, so the Arsenal here giving them 4 colors alongside Harmony. So it looks like they might be going for a Cathet, the 4-mana Naya Planeswalker. Though their deck has a lot of good targets for Get Your Wish, so not lost for options at all. At this point, the amount of value that Caillou is accruing is making me think that I'm not going to be able to contest them in terms of onboard presence, and that instead I might just have to start burning them out. So to have a look at their list in terms of what life gain they have, it seems like it's just from Tsar and Thet, and they do gain a significant amount of life repeatedly. Oh no, okay, so Caillou has gone for the Konai Stone instead. just as a way of boosting their amount of card advantage. On top of Harmony, that is quite the engine they've got going. And hey, with the Harmony Mill and the double Kanai Stone draw every turn, maybe they will actually deck themselves and then start tutoring with the Kanai Stone. Alright, so Caillou has milled and is just thinking about what they want to recur. They could even pick Get Your Wish. That would give them... the Kanai Stone gives them 5 colors, so they could tutor up the Quindril Accords. So, in terms of setting up a burn win condition, Avatar of the Rave could return Sustainable Investments and Gubernatorial Fundraiser to help me build up my treasure count again to pump into Dante's Inferno, but Harmony can just recur them at any point a work safety violation and just wipe my board again. That will cost them a bunch of life, so that is something, but I think that's just unlikely to end up working well against Tsar and their ability to tutor up other life game with Get Your Wish. Yep, there is the Get Your Wish being exiled. Get Your Wish certainly benefiting from pledges coming through with the new set being a way of getting a 3-colored permanent of your choice onto the battlefield. Great, okay, so now casting the Get Your Wish. I assume it is for the Quindril Accords. No, okay, it is for Itri Procession. Instead, wanting to remove my creature. So we've got a leaves the battlefield trigger, so we're going to exile the top card of my library. That is a fundraiser. So I could again discard Dante's Inferno to swap out for it, but I think at this point, Gubernatorial Fundraiser is only just going to get me a treasure and a pledge anyway, so I think instead I'm just going to leave that exiled and just take the treasure token. Means I do have 6 mana for my Avatar of the Rave, although I don't want to cast it next turn because drop is not live, given that I cast Audacious Rough Rider in my last turn. Yep, poking in for another consistent 2. Another Get Your Wish. Yeah, gonna be tough to beat. Chronicle of Extinction. I assume this is gonna be the, discard and exile mode. That's a pretty nasty combo, given that this is instant speed, so instant speed discard on draw step can hurt. Alright. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to come back from this one. Although certainly discarding Avatar of the Rave, because I won't have a graveyard after this point. Glornar is pretty weak to work safety violation. I think I want to keep the Dante's Inferno. Yeah, it's hard to say. I could, in response, use Dante's Inferno from the graveyard, but pinging in for 1 feels a bit sad. Yeah, okay. I think at this point I've just run out of steam, and Caillou is too far ahead, drawing so many extra cards every turn. So I'll call it there. Let's move on to game 2. Alright, so... I'm not sure I have a ton that's really good at handling this deck. It is a lot greedier than I think I've really teched for. So, to start out, the obvious removes, or the obvious things to cut are Killing in the Name of, given that my opponent doesn't have any creatures besides Gubernatorial Fundraiser. Though, having a look at their sideboard, so they've got a bunch of hand attack, some removal, wipes, graveyard exile. Yeah, so they're not going to be siding in any more creatures, so the creature removal is definitely going out. Needle out as hand attack, probably helpful. Crown Guard ban, I think, is not what I want here, just given the diversity of threats in Caillou's deck. Forget Their Names is an option, but similar to Crown Guard ban, I think it's not exactly what I want here. And Hardy Rough Rider being life gain. Life gain's not what I'm lacking in this deck, so I think it has to be Needle out. Just checking if there's anything else that I really don't care for keeping, and no, I think everything else is reasonably enough proactive that I'm happy keeping it in. So having a look at what Caillou is likely to bring in, I could see them bringing in Search and Seizure as hand attack, exactly the same as what I'm doing with Needle Out. Probably not Iris Pledge. Entry Procession, I don't think so. I don't. I might have enough creatures for them to be wanting to bring in Coup d'etat, and I think I kind of want them to start bringing in more removal, just so I can try to instead outgrind them. Caillou is taking some time to sideboard, so it seems like they are heavily considering their options. So maybe more than just hand attack is coming in at this point, or at least they're deciding whether or not that's worthwhile. Alright, while Caillou is thinking, let's have a look at what I think is likely to come out of their main deck in exchange for hand attack or other value options. Liquidate, maybe. I think my individual creatures, while I do have some big ones, are not as threatening as would require this kind of targeted attack. Get your wish, I'm sure it would say. Work Safety Violation is probably the strongest hitter in the opponent's deck, so I'm sure that would be staying. Entry Procession, I can't speak words today. I could see that coming out for the same reason as Liquidate. Coup d'etat 2. Chronicle of Extinction was very strong, and only having one of them is fine as a tutor target. Great, okay, looks like Caillou is back now, so let's get this second game underway. Let's see if being on the play helps out in any regards. Okay, cool, so we've got 3 lands, a turn 2 Needle Out, a turn 3 Sustainable Investment, and then Investment Providing the Treasure. That will let me cast Dante's Inferno. Yep, I can keep this. Great, starting out with my tapped Flourishing Crevasse, given that I don't have a mountain or forest to make it untap later on. Okay, so let's go for the Needle Out. See if we can slow my opponent down. Potentially nab a Golden Age. Ooh, 2 Golden Ages is not really what I want to see. That is going to be quite a difficult one to fight against. So opponent has a forest in hand, and no other untapped mana, so Search and Seizure is not likely to be cast turn 2 unless... no, that's a lie, because Redeveloped Cityscape is likely going to pitch one of their lands for something that can cast Search and Seizure. There's not a ton of point in the turn 2 Golden Age, given that they can't do anything with the mana that they'd search for, and they can't double spell and get a multicolored spell at the same turn. I think I do want to try and make this a smaller game by netting one of their Golden Ages. Yeah. They can return the swing with hand attack of their own, but I think if the game stays smaller by the two of us attacking our value engines, that benefits me more, rather than if I attack their hand attack, allowing us both to go a bit bigger. I think Caillou's deck is a lot more suited to actually answering that kind of gameplay. Okay, so Caillou has exiled the forest out of their hand and searched for a forest, so it looks like Golden Age is actually coming out here. Yep, there we go. This does mean I will get my turn 3 sustainable investments, so that is very nice. Okay, Gubernatorial Fundraiser, which I can try and curve off later on, but yeah, the obvious play here is just sustainable investments. I am hoping to not see work safety violations anytime soon, but knowing the amount of digging and tutors that Caillou is running, pretty likely. Okay, so Caillou is cracking Redeveloped Cityscape, and it looks like they were hoping to pitch something to the graveyard to be able to recast off Golden Age later, but now I've just realized that it's an exile instead, so that's probably changed their mind to discard, or exile the monocolor card from their hand instead, just so their multicolored cards can end up in the graveyard and be recast later by Golden Age. Okay, so Island to hand, and a mountain into play. So I believe beyond the 2 cards I can see from their hand, they also have a forest in hand, so that is -1 search. Great, okay, revealing my hand. I don't think they would take Dante's Inferno here. I could see them taking either of the other 2. I feel like Avatar of the Rave, is the call if Caillou wants to be trying to contest with late game value. Okay, that is another sustainable investments. So this does give me untapped treasure, in which case I would have 2 mana left over, which I can use to play the fundraiser. Alternatively, if I go fundraiser first, that plays a tapped treasure, so I wouldn't have the mana needed to cast sustainable investments afterwards. So I am just going to start out with the investments first, and then play out fundraiser. Yeah, this is quite the swingy sequence of cards, but Kaiu's deck is pretty much exactly the deck designed to not care about those things and just go way over the top of them. Alright, so Nascent Lightbane deployed for green. There is the work safety violation. Yep, so goodbye entire board. So I assume they're hitting the treasures, the Vishanki, and I'm not sure which is better to hit between the investments and the fundraiser. Oh, they've just messaged it. They've sent it in the chat. Yep, so they are leaving the investments. Yeah, I think, especially with not having drawn my fourth land yet, really not what I want to see here. Yeah, I think Kaiu has probably got it at this point as well. Obviously, I will play it out, but with them having Harmony live right now and me only having uncastable Burn in my hand, not looking good. Okay, so milling into a Get Your Wish, which was the only multicolored spell that they actually milled here. So if they are planning to cast it, I imagine they want to develop some kind of multicolored permanent first, just so they aren't tutoring to free cast a spell with mana value 1, given they only have one color of permanents on the battlefield at the moment. I imagine Kaiu is not particularly interested in recasting the Search and Seizure because they have a second one in their hand, and because they've seen my hand of 2 Dante's Inferno, followed by me opting not to play a land. So they could probably guess that the card that I've drawn is a 3rd Dante's Inferno. I think the signals for that are reasonably readable. Okay, it looks like they were just still deciding, but now have decided on it. Yep. Okay, casting it for a single color. Notably, they can search for any non-creature, non-land card. Doesn't have to be one with mana value 1 that they can cast right off this, so they may just be tutoring for some kind of tech piece or a value spell that they might want to cast next turn. Yep, which seems to be what they're doing. Zar, yeah, again, as a 5 loyalty planeswalker with a +2, lines up pretty favorably against my 3 Dante's Infernos. It looks like they're just setting up for the next turn. Okay, that is my 4th land, not one that I can actually use to cast Dante's Inferno this turn. It does get me into a 5th land though, so not the worst if I do draw some more actual gas. Alright, Harmony milling into 3 spells. So Kaiu is spoiled for choice at the moment. Has chosen Search and Seizure. Yep. So they can actually choose not to take any of them and instead draw a card, and I honestly wouldn't fault them for doing that at this point. Seems like they're thinking about whether or not they actually care about the Inferno, or they're just going to use the cycling mode of Search and Seizure. Yeah, especially with having tutored Azar, they have enough life gain to outscale it, but yeah, I can't blame them for removing it. They do have plenty of value where the cantrip mode of Search is just not particularly helpful. Well, there is another source of life gain, so they are choosing to -2 with the Cathette, which puts it in range of Dante's Inferno, but, I mean, they've already got a ton of value out of it. So even if I do kill it now, I'll be using my final Dante's Inferno and setting myself quite behind. So let's just take the mountain and the forest just so I have all my basic land types, or all my basic lands. Yeah, alright. Not the draws that I wanted to see here. Yeah, again, just I can kill the Cathet right now, but I know they have a Zara in hand and have access to their entire graveyard, so I'm not coming back from this one. Yeah, the triple Dante's Inferno, pretty hilarious. But, yeah. My deck, despite being more proactive than the kind of deck that I'm used to playing, is still fairly anti-aggro in terms of its setup, so wanting to prioritize a lot of removal, early game interaction, life gain, that sort of thing. So it is a lot better at targeting those lower to the ground decks, of which Kaiu's most certainly is not. So Kaiu's value-heavy pile is pretty damn good against what I'm running, so I'm not too surprised by this matchup at all. But still fun games either way, and it's good to see some of the power of new cards come through. Anyway, that wraps up the game, so thanks so much as always for joining me. Keep an eye out for more gameplay videos to come, and I hope to see you all soon. Take care, and peace.